You know, I'm not usually one that's lost for words, as you can probably tell by now, if you know me. But there are some times where I try to just sit back and try to observe like what's going on now, just in our culture, society, among people, what's happening, right? What's going on? Not just news, is what's going on in your world and what's coming at you. This is a stunningly amazing time and what's going on. I mean, honestly, and I know that's a little bit heady and it's probably like a little bit corny as well. What we're witnessing right now, what we're feeling right now is this giant, massive mindset change that's going on like all at once, where it's just, to put it simply, just people are tired of the lunacy and it's all coming out right now. And I think like the end result of that was like what you saw yesterday. That was, it doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter what side of whatever you're on, what political, but who the hell cares? That picture and that image of your president signing a bill ending males competing in girls' sports, that's one of the most iconic things that's ever happened in American history for a number of reasons. First of all, just the imagery of it, and then the girls gathered around. That's where Trump is so good. He's really just good at that, where he invited him around, and he's doing his thing. Let's do a big signature because this is historic, being Trump. But just the fact that we lived through an era, stop and think about this for a second, because we're so used to like the craziness. We lived through an era where biological males were allowed to compete in girls' sports. We're going to look back at this and say, what the hell were humans thinking? And then we had to actually get to a point where the biggest news story in the country yesterday for a time was the president having to sign an executive order to stop that from happening. This is an amazing time. And it all happened because collectively, people said, yeah, we're kind of done with this. I think we're done with that. We'll talk about the big win for girly sports as well as, and I wanted to I know there's been a lot about Doge and USAID and all the fraud and wasteful government spending. And towards the end of this week, today and tomorrow, heading into Super Bowl weekend, I wanted to kind of tail off that. But there's something I have to share with you coming up here. You will not believe, and I know it's been a lot, I get that, and it's a lot to digest because they're finding so much. You will not believe some of the salaries your tax dollars have been funding. It's just incredible. Not just the salaries, but the titles that a lot of these government employees have had that Doge dug up. They're not employed anymore. I mean, those positions were eliminated, but it's absolutely incredible. Something else is happening here where patriotism is breaking out bigly, as Trump would like to say at the Super Bowl. Players have a completely different approach now to how things are going, and they're speaking out. It's really amazing, and it's a nice little Super Bowl prep heading into tomorrow and the weekend and all that good stuff. But let's get to it, and thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much with that long-winded intro. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio as well as the audio podcast. And if you only listen to the audio podcast, appreciate you. And the 5 stars and downloads and shares and all that crap wherever you prefer to get your audio podcast. And then, of course, this is always a replay right here on X. Thanks for the follows, get your notifications on, and all that good stuff as well. Little programming note. Tomorrow, heading into Super Bowl weekend, I'm only talking about the Super Bowl. That's it. And you're thinking, I don't care about that. You don't talk about sports. What the hell do you know? True, but whether or not you like football or have any interest whatsoever in the Super Bowl, this is undeniable. It is a massive, massive cultural thing. The Super Bowl is Americana. It is the biggest sporting event, biggest spectacle in the world, and it is a huge part of our culture. And there are a lot of different angles tomorrow to talk about. So tomorrow I'm going to put together a Super Bowl weekend special for you. We're going to talk about not X's and O's, just everything else going on, and some fun prop bets too. But let's get right to it. Well, you heard it. You saw it.
Because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
I mean, I don't know how you put it any simpler than that. And again, I'll say it again. If you didn't see this iconic still shot photo, I don't know what the Trump Presidential Library someday is going to be like. It'll probably be in Florida, actually. I don't know what it's going to look like. I imagine it's going to look like a sports bar because he loves to collect the sports memorabilia stuff. But that picture, that iconic photo of him surrounded by all the female athletes as he's signing the thing, as he invited them all down. Come on down, everybody. Come on. It's unbelievable. Nobody said it could be done. I got it done for you. It's an iconic photo, and that's where he's really, really good at imagery and persuasion, obviously. But it's an incredible, incredible thing. And again, I'm just blown away that it took this to stop this lunacy. But he did. He campaigned on this, and there are a lot of people, and he called them out specifically. Riley Gaines, I think Sage Steele was another one. There were a lot of leaders that came out through this to protect women's sports. But collectively, like I said in the intro, it was all of us. It was just, that isn't actual real thing, the collective consciousness of a society and a culture and a nation where people just stood up and they just said enough. And obviously it was the economy. Obviously it was the border that put him back in the White House. All of those big issues. Don't discount this kind of stuff, though, as anything less than that. Because people saw what was happening. You saw all the news stories. You saw all of the abuses that were happening to girls in sports and scholarships taken away. There were injuries happening. It was just the fact that was allowed, that biological males were allowed to compete against them, was insane. And collectively, America said, no, we're just not doing it. And the end result was this. Now, it's a huge win if you're a parent of a girl in sport. I got kind of close to this because I have two girls myself. They certainly weren't in sports. They're more like, art and music and that end of things, right? But what a major win if you've got a young girl competing in sports and trying to get a scholarship that it's not going to be taken away. And there were countless of examples of that happening. Female wrestlers losing out to, I'm going to call them boys, men, for scholarships. We know the Riley Gaines story. She was the female swimmer in college who had to compete against a biological male that lapped her in the pool, it took wins away, right? And now, by the way, some of those female swimmers, now that they have this by their side, they're going to sue to get a lot of those medals taken away from male athletes that took it from them. And it took this. It just did. And I've asked this question back in radio days and right here so many times. Where were these feminist athletes that actually did a great job? The Billie Jean Kings of the world, Martina Navratilova, or think of any of them you can. Where were they throughout this whole fight? Why did it take the current athletes to do it? They fought for, was it 40 years to get Title IX, to get fairness in women's sports? They fought really hard for that to get it done, and there was a great fight, and they did win until this happened. Were they so afraid of the transgender movement that they didn't stand up for these women? Why did it take this to happen? It never should have even gotten to this point. But the bottom line is, it did. And I got to tell you, no matter what happens in the future, I don't think we're going back, because he did talk about the future. Let's not forget about what's coming up in 2026 in Los Angeles. Guess what we're hosting?
In Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority.
Yeah, again. He says it in his own Trumpian kind of way, that only he can put it that way. They're not going to beat and batter women anymore. But he says it in a way where that took you right back to that Olympics thing where the dude boxer was beating up the female athletes. Remember that? Yeah. No more. And that's interesting because that's our executive decision. The rest of the world, they're still completely fine with males competing against women. So it's going to be interesting to see if the rest of the world follows this lead. It'll be really interesting. I'm glad he brought up the Olympics because that's going to be a big fight. He won't allow it here. It's not going to happen. So I don't know. We'll see. Amazing. Good for you. Good for female athletes who champion this cause. Congratulations to you. And congratulations to you if you've got, kids who are female athletes. Good for you. You should be celebrating today. I think it's fantastic. All right, like I said, I know it's been a lot. My goal was to kind of ramp down on the USAID stories and the DEI stuff and everything they're digging up, which is great that they're uncovering all the fraud and corruption. I get it. And I didn't want to talk about that today or tomorrow, heading closer to the weekend, but I have to bring this up. You're not going to believe this. In two different ways. And I'll make it quick, but it's incredible. So among the news released yesterday of the stuff that Doge has found is really incredible. If all this time you've thought, well, we've all known, right? We've all known that legacy media outlets are not only biased, but it's a lot more than that they, went into full attack mode and they worked hand in hand and were taking orders from the Democrats. Everybody's known that. It's common sense. Well, now you got a paper trail. So as it turns out, let me get to the story here, and this was widely reported. You may or may not know about the Politico outlet, left-wing-based political outlet that has done a lot of attack stories on Trump, obviously, but a lot of other Republicans and a lot of other Republicans running for office. And really just, I'd say conservatives, I guess. And they were big on the January 6th thing and going after them. No, here's the news story. No employees at Politico got paid yesterday. First time ever the company missed a pay period. Why would that be? How would that happen? Oh, maybe some funding dried up. Because what we learned was Politico, which is supposedly an unbiased news company, which talks about politics a lot, spent the last, not year, not 5 years, 10 years going after MAGA. And guess who funded it? This is why I had to bring it up. Yeah, USAID was funding Politico and others. They just also started to scratch the surface on Reuters, that big, supposedly respected news organization, right? The collector of news stories that feed it out to other news outlets, right? And others. How many others were getting funded here? Your tax dollars funding news outlets. News, I use in finger quotes. To attack a certain ideology. This came up in a discussion in the White House press room yesterday. You'll hear the beginning part of the question, then Caroline Leavitt confirmed exactly what I'm saying here. Politico was getting paid.
It looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
Listen to this.
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now.
8 million? So a lot of people try to community note this. Well, they weren't paying them directly. No, but that's how they subsidized it. So USAID was buying a bunch of subscriptions to Politico to keep it going to the tune of $8 million they found in the line-by-line code. That's what was going on. They were paying Politico and others. And by the way, she called it out right there. How would you like to be the Politico reporter in the White House press room when this is being discussed by the White House? Oh, my God. So now you have, so we've always known, right? We've always known about biased supposed news organizations. Now you know who was paying them and how it happened. With your money. Remember how I said it's going to be tough because we're ripping Band-Aids off and it's going to hurt at first? But at the end, it's all going to be cool because you get to the truth and you can fix things. Well, that's all happening right now. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it stops here? I'm not good at predictions. That's not my thing. But I'll make a prediction right now, and if it comes true, remember who told you, or who brought it up for the first time you heard it. So for years, a lot of us have questioned how CNN is still in business. They've been hemorrhaging ratings, like bad. Like HGTV beats them a lot, like really bad, which means advertising revenue is down. Everybody has wondered how CNN, for just an example, has stayed in business for so many years with that happening. A lot of the speculation was maybe they're getting like direct payments from China or whatever it is to have, counter programming and disinformation to try to take down the MAGA movement. What if we find out organizations like that have been getting USAID money? Is it so far-fetched now that we know Politico? Oh, by the way, which the Politico investors own Business Insider as well. So maybe that's directly related. Would it surprise you? Oh, by the way, yeah. How about NPR? How about the public broadcasting system, PBS, your tax dollars? All of those numbers funding that organization. You want to keep that going? Got a new FCC director who wants to defund them, and it's high time we do it. You can't have public money, our money, going to fund these propaganda organizations if they're not just going to report straight news. Can't have it. That's all ending. And it's a great thing, like ripping off the Band-Aid now, but it's all going to be great in the end. It's unbelievable. All right. I know you're getting tired of the USAID stuff and the Doge and the Politico stuff. I get it. But I saw this yesterday, and I have to share this with you. And then we'll get off the Doge stuff in a second. But you're not going to believe this. This is the most incredible thing. It's not surprising that a website is now out keeping track of all this stuff. But DEI watchlist.com is something worth checking out as they exposed all this stuff, right? Your taxpayer-funded DEI salaries in government jobs. That's basically what it is. So when it gets revealed by the Doge team, this watch list organization gets it, and they publish it on this new website. And if you want to check it out, it's something. DEIwatchlist.com. This is what they found yesterday. And then the other media outlets found this stuff. You have to listen to some of these jobs. These are not jobs anymore, but they were. And these were the people. Listen to some of these. The best ones coming up. Una August. You know what Una did? The Deputy Associate Director of Science, Office of Health Equity for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She was pulling down $151,000 of your tax dollars. I don't even really know how to define what health equity is. And why does the CDC get involved with health equity? I don't know. Well, that's one thing. I guess you can kind of justify that one. But let's talk about Chastity Walker. She was Deputy Country Director at the CDC. Still an undefinable job. Nobody knows what it is. Making $161,000, or was. How about this guy? John Balbus. Listen to his job. This is what you were funding. Director of the Office of Climate Change and Health Equity. There's that health equity again. At the Department of Health and Human Services. Climate change at Health and Human Services. Almost just under $200,000 a year of your tax dollars. HHS climate change. Okay, all right. Chantrice Holman. She was a strategist at the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the National Institutes of Health. No salary on her, but that's a hell of a title. You hear this stuff, and you know what? It's like I kind of feel foolish that we didn't know about this before, and part of me's kind of jealous. What great gigs these people found, huh? Just amazing. It's like, doesn't a small part of you say, why didn't I get in on this grift? Man, how did I miss out on this? Let's see. Brian King, director at the Center for Tobacco Products at the Food and Drug Administration. He was making $275. But here's the all-timer. Are you ready? This is my favorite. This is why I even bring it up. This is the one that had me laughing out loud yesterday when I found it. Jayatsa Blackwell. This is her title. And it's got an acronym. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility, and Belonging. That's the DEIAB. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility, and Belonging Officer at the CDC. How much does that job get you? $128,275 of your tax dollars every single year. The DEIAB. And I will guarantee, I don't know this for a fact. I can't confirm it. But I would bet a lot of money. I'd bet the amount of her salary that she was doing all of that from home. Wasteful spending? Yeah, I'd say so. Well, it is what it is, but they're finding it all out now. Unbelievable. Hey, this is something, to get off that for a second, this is something interesting here. I don't have any audio to prove it, but there was an interesting post on X last night that is going gangbusters because it's coming from, first of all, Lara Trump. Nice lady. And she's got a show on Fox, by the way. Congratulations. So she posted this like 10 hours ago. Just happened on my JetBlue flight. Pilot. Sorry, folks. Just a little bumpy as we fly over the Gulf of America. Are JetBlue pilots not afraid to speak out and be patriotic anymore? Probably so, because listen to the response to the post from Lara Trump from, JetBlue. They respond to her and comment, "We hope you enjoyed your flight." Pretty damn interesting, isn't it? Pretty damn interesting. I don't have any video proof of that yet, but I bet you it's actually true. If they were able to confirm it. It seems as though being proud to say America is breaking out all over the country. Seems that way anyway, including at the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a lot about this tomorrow, like I promised, but this was really interesting. Listen to some of the comments. So they had, they always have like media day or whatever they call it now, and they asked the players sitting there at a booth a lot of different questions. So the news came out. Trump came out and he announced that he's going to be at the Super Bowl. I think it's the first sitting president that's going to sit for the whole game or whatever. He loves football. He's a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, and he had nice things to say about him. He goes, that guy's a real winner. Reminds me in my college playing days. He didn't really say that. I made that up. But Mahomes got a hold of this, and I thought he had a good, good honorable response to what he said. Here's Patrick Mahomes responding to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always cool to be able to play in front of a sitting president, someone that is at the top position in our country. And so I didn't see that clip, but obviously it's cool to hear that he's seen me play football and respects the game that I play.
Cool. All right. Good. It's a good statement. That's good. I think he would have made that anyway. I think he's a respectful guy. He's very good at the media. He said the right thing, and he's very good. He's cool. It's nice to be honored by the president. Very cool. Here's the surprising statement. Did you hear the statement from Travis Kelce yesterday, though? When he found out that Trump is going to be at the game. Well, listen to his response.
It's a great honor. I think, no matter who the president is, I know I'm excited because it's the biggest game of my life, and having the president there, it's the best country in the world. So it'd be very cool.
I think that's awesome. What he said was it's an honor. It's the greatest country in the world. Now, let me ask you this. That's Travis Kelce. We know who he's attached to at the hip. Taylor Swift. Trump has not exactly been the biggest fan of Taylor Swift. And Travis is media savvy enough to know that he's very in tune. I can confirm this in my house. He's very in tune with all the Swifties. He knows what to say and what not to say. He's been very protective of that image, let's say, on that end of things. Let me just ask you this, a hypothetical. A year ago, would he have made this statement? Would he have said it's an honor that the president's going to be, that Trump is going to be there? Would he have said it's the greatest country in the world, knowing that he's attached to all the Swifties who, for the most part, don't like Trump at all? Would he have said that? My answer, my guess is, I don't think he would have. But here's what's happening, and it's great, and it's important. It's cool to be patriotic again, and it's cool to be proud of your country. And that remember how we were talking about this collective consciousness with getting men out of girls' sports? We all kind of said, enough is enough, enough of the lunacy. Well, that's happening too. It's important to be patriotic. You can go two ways. You can be not patriotic and not like your country, or love and support it. And for a national mindset, it's better to be patriotic, and it's breaking out all over the place. Speaking of the Super Bowl, we're talking a lot of Super Bowl tomorrow for a Super Bowl special Friday weekend. Well, you don't talk about sports. We don't care about that. Not just about sports. It's about this American culture of ours and what else is happening, because there are some big changes coming to this Super Bowl. And what happens at an event like that on the world stage is usually an indication of what's going on with us. And trust me, it's all good stuff. It's all good. So that's going to be a lot tomorrow. In the meantime, the takeaway, the end of lunacy is here. That's a great thing. It really is. You should be celebrating this. It's fantastic. And the other takeaway, which is the constant, don't take any crap from anybody ever. You don't have to. Stand up for yourself. Speak up with all this stuff going on. Thanks for finding the audio podcast. That's with you, usually about 9 a.m. Eastern time, wherever you get your podcast on whatever platform you choose. This is always a replay on X and YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. Thanks for the likes, shares, and follows. And we got a big weekend to start to prep for coming up tomorrow. It's our Super Bowl special coming up. And with that said, have a wicked awesome day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.